The space station floated in the quiet dark of deep space, but inside its metal walls, nothing felt peaceful that night. A sharp alarm echoed through every hallway, every room, every deck, the kind of alarm that only sounded when something very wrong was happening. Crew members ran through the corridors with confused and worried faces. Lights flashed red, machines beeped loudly, and voices shouted over one another as they hurried toward the medical bay. Everyone knew what this alarm meant. The alien girl was having another nightmare. Her name was Leary. She was small, no older than 8 in human years, with soft blue skin that glowed whenever she was scared, and right now, she was glowing so bright that the whole medical room looked like it was filled with blue fire. Her tiny body shook on the bed, her thin hands gripping the sheets tightly. Her eyes were shut, but tears rolled down her face as she screamed in a language no human could understand. Doctors surrounded her with tablets and strange alien tools. A thick glass shield separated her from everyone else, because her power was too strong when she dreamed. Whenever she had a nightmare, the air around her shook like a storm, and the floor vibrated as if something was striking it from underneath. Some of the doctors held onto the walls to keep their balance as the bed rattled violently. Heart rate is rising. Dream pressure increasing. One doctor yelled, another doctor pressed glowing buttons on a machine. But nothing changed. A nurse shouted, "Nightmare waves are spreading through the station again." A loud tremor ran through the floor, like a giant fist hitting metal. And everyone staggered. Leary screamed even louder, a painful scream that echoed down the hallways and made some crew members cover their ears. Even people far away could feel the strange energy her mind released. For months, no one had been able to help her. No medicine worked, no calming gas worked, no sound therapy, dream machines, or alien healing lights did anything. Every night, the same thing happened. Leary fell asleep, her nightmares began, and the entire space station shook like it was under attack. Some crew members whispered in fear, "Maybe we should move her off the station. She's too dangerous. She will destroy us by accident one day." But the station captain, a strict woman named Captain Rhea, refused to give up. She stood outside the medical bay, watching the glowing emergency screens. Her voice was firm. "No, we will not abandon a child. She needs help, and we will find a way." Rhea watched Leary scream and cry, and for the first time, she felt truly helpless. It was not only fear, there was sadness too. What kind of nightmare could make a child shake? A whole space station. What was she seeing? Who was she afraid of? Inside her dream, Leary was running through fire, running through shadows, running from something huge, something that spoke to her in a voice like broken metal, a voice that said, "I will find you." Her small chest rose and fell quickly, her breath short and painful. Her glowing skin flickered like a dying star. She whispered one word over and over, a name. No one recognized it. No one knew what it meant. But she cried it like she was calling for someone she desperately needed. Then, suddenly, the entire room went silent. The machines froze. The alarms stopped. Even Leary's body stopped shaking. Her eyes opened wide, glowing bright white. She stared at the ceiling as if seeing something above her, something no one else could see, and then she whispered in a trembling voice, "He is coming." The lights in the room flickered. A cold wind blew through the medical bay, even though all doors were shut. The crew backed away from the glass, fear rising in their eyes. Captain Rhea rushed forward and shouted, "Who is coming, Leary? Who?" But the girl did not answer. Instead, she let out a soft, broken cry. Her body curled up like she was trying to hide from something. And then she fell silent. For the first time since she was found, she stopped glowing. The screens showed her sleep returning to normal. The nightmare for now was over. But the fear inside the room grew stronger, because the crew now knew something terrible. Leary's nightmares were not just dreams. They were warnings, and whatever she was warning them about was getting closer. The next morning on the space station was strangely quiet. After the long night, the crew walked slowly through the halls, whispering about Leary's warning. Some were afraid, some were tired, but most of them felt confused. What did the little alien girl mean when she said, "He is coming"? But while everyone talked, one person did not join the whispers. One person moved calmly through the halls with a small mop cart and cleaning tools. His name was Evan Hawley, a simple human janitor. Evan was not important to the station crew people. Walked past him every day without noticing him. He was quiet. He didn't complain, and he always did his work with patience. He swept floors, fixed broken doors, cleaned windows, and emptied waste bins. While others wore special suits and badges, Evan wore a plain gray uniform and old boots. But Evan carried one strange thing everywhere he went, a small worn-out book in his pocket, a book of children's stories. He kept it with him because it reminded him of home. On Earth, Evan had a daughter named Mira. He used to read her bedtime stories every night before the war separated them. Every time he opened that book, he felt close to her again. That morning, Evan cleaned the hallway outside the medical bay. He did not know much about the alien girl inside. He only heard rumors: dangerous child, nightmare problem. Station shakes every night. He had never seen her, not even once. He thought she was just scared. Most children were. Adults struggled with space travel. Children struggled even more. While Evan cleaned, Captain Rhea and the doctor team ran out of the medical bay. They looked stressed and worried. The captain rubbed her forehead and spoke in a tired voice. "We tried everything. Nothing works." A young doctor replied, "She barely slept for 10 minutes tonight. We can't calm her at all." Another doctor said in a hopeless tone, "She might destroy this station by accident one day." Evan paused, his mop mid-air. He didn't like hearing that, a child destroying the station. Not because she wanted to, but because she was afraid. He stepped closer and asked gently, "Excuse me, is she all right?" The doctors turned to him, surprised. Most of them never heard the janitor speak. One doctor shook her head. "No, she's getting worse. Her nightmares are beyond anything we have seen." Captain Rhea crossed her arms. "We need new ideas. Something we haven't tried." Her eyes slowly scanned the hallway full of crew. But everyone looked away, afraid to step forward. Evan thought for a moment. Then he said quietly, "Maybe. She needs comfort, not machines." A few people turned toward him, confused. "What do you mean?" The captain asked. Evan touched the small book in his pocket. He didn't pull it out yet. He just held it gently and said, "When my daughter had nightmares, I used to read her stories. It helped her sleep." One of the doctors almost laughed. "A janitor? Reading stories to an alien child?" Another shook his head. "That won't work here. It's not that simple." But Captain Rhea did not laugh. She looked at Evan with curious eyes. "You think a simple story can stop her nightmares?" she asked. Evan shrugged softly. "I don't know, but someone should stay with her. Talk to her. Be gentle. She is scared. I can feel it." The captain studied him. He was not a warrior, not a scientist, not a doctor, but he spoke with a quiet courage she rarely saw. And there was something else, sincerity, something that came from a real father, a man who knew how to protect a child's heart. Finally, Rhea gave a slow nod. "You may try," she said, "but only because we have no other options left." The doctors murmured in disapproval, but nobody stopped him. Evan took a deep breath and entered the medical bay. The room was cold, filled with humming machines and glowing screens. The glass shield around Leary's bed flickered with blue light. And there she was, small, fragile, curled up like a trembling flower, her skin dim, her face tired. The moment Evan stepped closer, her eyes opened. She looked at him, not with fear, but with curiosity. It was the first time she didn't scream at someone new. Evan slowly sat beside the glass wall and spoke softly. "Hello, Leary. My name is Evan." Her eyes blinked twice. Her glowing skin brightened just a little. "Evan." reached into his pocket and pulled out the small storybook. The old, torn cover reflected soft light. He held it up so she could see it through the glass. "I don't know if you understand," he said, "but would you like to hear a story?" Leary stared at the book for a long moment. Then her small hand lifted weakly. Her finger pointed at the book, and she nodded for the first time ever. She wanted something. She trusted someone. And the entire medical team watching from behind froze because the impossible just happened. Leary had finally stopped crying. The medical bay became silent the moment Leary nodded. Her small head dipped gently, her glowing blue skin flickering like a faint broken light. The doctors watching from behind the glass whispered in shock. They had never seen her respond to anyone this calmly, not the captain, not the medical team, not the alien healers, but now. She looked at a simple human janitor, as if she already knew him, as if she was waiting for him. Evan sat down next to the glass shield. The chair creaked under his weight. He laid his cleaning tools aside and opened his small, worn-out storybook. The pages were soft from years of use, corners torn, edges yellow. It was a book filled with simple bedtime stories he used to read to his daughter. Mira, stories about brave children, peaceful forests, kind animals, and magical lights. He looked at Leary again. Her bright, fearful eyes followed his movements. Her tiny fingers clutched the blanket as if she was still scared. But she wasn't screaming. She wasn't glowing dangerously. She wasn't shaking the entire room. She was waiting. Evan took a deep breath. His voice was warm, gentle, the voice of a father who had told stories many times before. He began reading the first story, a tale about a lonely star who found friends in the night sky. His voice flowed softly through the speaker inside the glass shield. Simple words, a soft rhythm, calm breathing. The sound drifted through the air like a warm breeze. Leary's eyes slowly began to close, opening again, then closing halfway. Her breathing steadied, her glow softened. The doctors stared at the monitors. The heart rate dropped to normal levels. Drain pressure lowered, fear signals faded. For the first time since she arrived, the numbers looked peaceful. A doctor whispered, "It's working," another said. How? How is this possible?" Captain Rhea folded her arms. Her face held a mix of relief and confusion. "A simple story? And she reacts like this?" She murmured, "But why him? Why only him?" Inside the room, Evan continued reading. He didn't rush the words. He didn't worry about the crew staring at him. He only focused on the trembling alien child before him, a child who looked like she had never known comfort in her life. When he turned the page, Leary made a small sound, a soft hum, almost like she was trying to talk. Her eyes blinked slowly. She stared at Evan's face as he read, memorizing his warm expression. As he finished the first story, the room was calm. Leary's head rested gently on her pillow. For the first time, she looked peaceful. Not smiling, not happy, but not terrified. Just safe. Evan closed the book halfway. "Would you like another one?" he asked softly. Leary raised her hand. She pointed at the book again, then nodded. So he began the second story, this one about a small forest creature who was scared of the dark, but learned that darkness is gentle when someone lights a lantern. Halfway through the story, something strange happened. Leary whispered a soft word, barely a breath, but it reached Evan's ears. "You sound like him." Evan froze. He lowered the book and looked at her. Her eyes were half open, filled with a quiet sadness. "Who?" he asked gently. "Who do I sound like?" Her lips trembled. She said one name, but it wasn't a human name, nor a word anyone recognized. It was a soft alien sound, a name filled with pain, a name she had cried in her nightmares. Then her voice weakened, and Leary whispered, "He used to read to me when I was not alone." The room fell silent. Captain Rhea exchanged looks with the doctors. "A guardian?" someone whispered. "A family member?" Evan felt something heavy press against his chest. This girl. She wasn't just scared, she was grieving. She had lost someone who used to comfort her, protect her, hold her when she was afraid. He slowly closed the book and leaned closer to the glass. "I'm not him," he said softly. "But I'm here now, and I will stay with you." Leary's eyes shimmered with a weak glow. For a moment, she looked like she wanted to cry, but not in fear, in relief. Evan opened his book again. He continued reading. His voice steady, warm, full of heart. The machines kept showing calm numbers. The room stayed peaceful. Leary slowly drifted into sleep, deep sleep, quiet sleep, nightmare-free sleep. The crew had witnessed something impossible, and Captain Rhea whispered the truth none of them could deny. Only he can reach her. Asterisk, for the first time since Leary arrived on the station. The medical bay felt peaceful. Evan sat silently beside her glass chamber, holding the storybook in his lap. The alien girl slept like a small child who had finally found safety. Her glowing skin dimmed to a soft, calm blue, her breathing slow and steady. No alarms, no shaking, no screams, just quiet. Captain Rhea watched from behind the glass, her arms crossed. Her face showed a peace she hadn't felt in months. Doctors whispered among themselves, still confused but amazed. "It's real," one of them said. "He actually stopped the nightmares with a children's story." Another muttered in disbelief, but Evan didn't hear any of them. He only watched Leary sleep. He thought of his daughter Mira. He imagined her tiny hand holding his finger. He imagined her sleepy smile when he finished reading a bedtime story. And for a moment, Evan felt a sharp ache in his chest. He missed her more than anything. But tonight, helping Leary felt like helping his own child. And that gave him strength. Hours passed. The station lights dimmed, simulating night. The air grew colder, and the crew slowly returned to their rooms. Leaving the medical bay quiet, Evan stood up, stretched his tired arms, and whispered through the speaker, "I'll be right outside, Leary. I'm not going far." He stepped out of the chamber, leaving the book on a table nearby. The captain nodded to him. "You did well, Evan," she said softly. "You've given her something none of us could." Evan smiled politely. "I'll come back if she wakes up," he promised. Then he began walking down the hallway, pushing his mop cart. His feet moved slowly, heavy with exhaustion. But peace lasted only a short while. 1 hour later, a sudden tremor shook the hallway. Evan froze then. Beep, beep, beep. The nightmare alarm screamed again, louder than before. The red warning lights flashed across the walls. Crew members rushed out of their rooms, panicked. "Oh no," someone cried. "Not again." "Is she worse?" another shouted. Evan dropped his mop handle and ran toward the medical bay. His heart pounded fast as the floors vibrated beneath his feet. He could hear Leary screaming, the sound echoing through the steel walls. By the time he reached the medical bay, the situation was bad, very bad. The glass chamber shook violently. The machines flickered. Blue sparks burst like lightning around Leary's bed. Her glow was no longer soft. It was bright, wild, painful. Her hands pressed against her head as if something was attacking her mind. Her nightmare pressure is twice as high. A doctor yelled, "It's off the charts. We're losing control." Captain Rhea shouted, "Hold the stabilizers. Don't let the glass break." Leary screamed again, louder than before, a scream filled with terror. Van. His name, she called for him, her voice small, broken, desperate. Evan didn't wait for permission. He ran to the glass, his palms pressed against it. "Leary, I'm here, I'm here," he shouted. She reached toward him, her tiny hand trembling violently. Her glow pulsed dangerously, shaking the entire room. "Open the chamber." Evan shouted at the doctors. One doctor hesitated. "That's too risky. Her energy is unstable." But Captain Rhea made the decision instantly. "Open IT." She ordered. He's the only one she trusts. The chamber door hissed and slid open. A wave of hot, bright energy burst outward, forcing some doctors to shield their faces. Evan stepped inside without fear. He grabbed the storybook from the table and moved toward Leary. Her eyes were filled with terror. Tears streamed down her glowing cheeks. Evan knelt beside her bed. His voice shook slightly, but he stayed calm. "It's okay, Leary. I'm here now. I won't leave." Her breathing slowed for a moment, but the nightmare wasn't finished. A sudden pulse of energy shot out, causing the lights to flicker violently. Evan quickly opened the book. His hands trembled, but he forced himself to breathe. "It's story time," he whispered gently. "Listen to my voice." He began reading, slowly, softly. The words flowed through the air like a warm blanket. Leary's screams softened. Her glow dimmed little. By little, her shaking slowed down. Her breathing steadied. The doctors stared in disbelief. Once again, the impossible was happening before their eyes. Within minutes, the room was calm again. Leary lay still, her eyes half open, staring at Evan. Her voice cracked weakly. "Please, don't go." Evan placed his hand gently on the glass near her. "I'm not going anywhere," he whispered. The nightmare was stopped, but one truth became clear to everyone in the room. A truth that sent fear and confusion through the entire station. Her nightmares were growing stronger, and they were returning faster. Whatever hunted Leary in her dreams was getting closer, and soon it might reach the station. The medical bay was silent after the nightmare faded. The lights slowly returned to normal. The alarm stopped and the shaking ended. But the fear inside everyone did not disappear. Every doctor, every guard, every crew member stared at the small alien girl with confusion and worry. Leary lay weakly on her bed, staring at Evan with tired eyes. Her glow had faded to a soft, dim blue, almost colorless from exhaustion. Her fingers clutched the edge of the blanket like a frightened child, and her breath trembled as if she had been running for hours inside her dream. Evan sat beside her, his voice calm. "Take your time, Leary," he whispered. "I'm here. No one will hurt you." Her eyes blinked slowly. She seemed to understand him. She seemed to feel safe only when he spoke. Captain Rhea stepped closer, her voice quiet but serious. "Evan, we need answers." Evan nodded, but his focus stayed on Leary. He held the storybook gently, his fingers brushing the pages. Behind him, the doctors checked the monitors and whispered, "She can't survive many more nightmares like this. The pressure on her mind will destroy her." "But why are the dreams so strong?" Evan looked at Leary again. She was no ordinary child. That much was clear. She had a power inside her that none of them understood. A power that reacted to fear like fire reacts to air. Leary suddenly whispered, her voice thin as a breath. "He found me again." Evan leaned forward. "Who found?" "You, Leary?" he asked softly. She shut her eyes tight, holding her head with shaking hands. Her small body trembled as memories returned, painful and heavy. Then she spoke in slow, broken words. "The monster. From my planet. He destroyed everything. My family, my home." The room fell completely silent. Even the machine seemed to pause. Everyone listened, afraid of the truth they were about to hear. Leary opened her eyes again, tears glowing on her cheeks. "He is not like your monsters," she whispered. "He is real. He hunts dreams. He hunts minds." A chill ran through the room. Captain Rhea stepped closer, her expression tense. "You're saying something attacked your planet?" Leary nodded slowly. "Not something. Someone." Her voice broke. "He came at night, through our dreams. He entered our minds. And when we woke up, he was already there." The crew exchanged frightened looks. A nightmare creature that attacked minds and followed fear. No one had heard of anything like it. Evan softened his voice even more. "Leary, what was his name?" She whispered the same alien word she had spoken earlier, a word filled with pain, loss, and terror. The sound itself seemed to make the lights flicker for a moment. Evan swallowed hard. "So this thing is the reason you ran away?" She nodded. "He wanted me." The room went cold. The crew felt something heavy settle in their chests. Why would a powerful nightmare creature chase a child? Captain Rhea asked, "Why you? What does he want from you?" Leary curled into herself, hugging her knees. "My guardian. The one who read me stories. He protected me," she whispered. "He hid me before the monster reached me. He told me to run far. Find people who have strong hearts, humans." Everyone in the room looked at Evan at the same moment, because Leary's eyes were already on him. "You sound like him," she whispered. "Your voice, it feels the same." Safe. Evan felt his throat tighten. A mix of pain and responsibility washed over him. He was just a janitor. He wasn't a soldier, a hero, or a scientist. He cleaned floors, fixed broken lights, and read stories to comfort children. That was all. But to Leary, he was the only person left in the galaxy who reminded her of the guardian she lost. A doctor suddenly spoke, fear rising in his voice. "If this monster can enter dreams, then Leary's nightmares are not just memories. They might be warnings." Captain Rhea nodded slowly. "Her nightmares are getting stronger," she said. "Which means the monster may be getting closer." Evan felt cold air hit his skin. He looked at Leary, at her trembling hands, her frightened eyes, her small body trying to hide from something only she could see. Then he made a decision, a quiet, simple decision, but one that carried the weight of the entire station. He placed his hand against the glass gently and said, "I will not let him reach you. Not while I'm here." Leary's eyes filled with tears. She whispered, almost like a prayer, "He hears dreams. He hears fear." Evan leaned closer. "Then listen to my voice instead," he said. "I'll read to you. I'll stay with you. I won't let him take you." The room felt warmer for a moment, but everyone knew the truth. Leary's nightmares were not just dreams. They were warnings, and the creature that hunted her was now hunting them. The space station felt heavier the next day, not because of gravity, but because of fear. Every hallway, every room, every control panel hummed with tension. Crew members walked quietly, speaking in whispers. Everyone kept looking at the windows, expecting something to appear in the darkness of space. Captain Rhea called for a full security meeting. Guards stood at attention. Scientists carried tablets with shaking hands. Doctors studied Leary's dream recordings again and again, but none of them understood the creature she had described. Only one person seemed calm, Evan, the simple janitor who now carried a responsibility bigger than any soldier on the station. He stood beside Leary's chamber, reading slowly from his storybook, his voice gentle, steady, warm. Leary listened with half-closed eyes, her breathing soft, her glow faint but peaceful. As long as Evan read, she stayed calm. Her nightmares did not rise. Her fear stayed quiet, but outside the medical bay, the space around the station began to change. Strange signals appeared on the radar. Soft at first, then louder, stronger, darker. The screens flickered with moving shadows that had no shape. The sensors buzzed with static even though space was silent. A crew officer shouted, "Captain, we're detecting a wave of unknown energy approaching." Another officer added, "It's affecting our readings. Like something is blocking the scanners." Captain Rhea's voice hardened. "Prepare the shields. Lock down all sectors. No one moves without my order." Her eyes narrowed at the strange, flickering signals. She had seen many dangers in space pirates. Wild creatures, rogue ships, radiation storms. But she had never seen a threat that came from nightmares. Inside the medical bay, Leary suddenly stopped listening. Her eyes went wide. Her small body stiffened. She whispered, "He is close." Evan froze. "Leary, what do you feel?" he asked gently. She clutched her blanket tightly, her glow turning bright and shaky. "He is looking for me. He can feel my fear." Her voice trembled as she stared into the air, as if she could see something far away, something no one else could. Evan felt cold sweat on his neck, but he stepped closer, placing his hand against the glass. "You're safe. I'm right here," he whispered. Leary looked at him with desperate eyes. Your voice keeps him away. But he is stronger today, and angry. Suddenly, the lights in the medical bay flickered once, twice, then dimmed completely. The machines around Leary beeped and sparked. The glass shield trembled as if something pushed against it from them. Outside, across the station, alarms blared again. Crew members rushed to emergency stations, shouting orders. The captain raced toward the medical bay. "Report. What's happening?" she demanded. A scientist called out with fear in her voice. "Captain, the energy outside, it's not natural. It feels like a mine pressing against the station." Another officer yelled, "It's trying to enter our network. It's searching for something." Captain Rhea didn't have to guess what that something was. She sprinted into the medical bay. "Is she reacting again?" she asked, breathless. Leary curled up tightly on her bed, shaking violently. Her skin glowed like a burning star, too bright for a child her size. Tears streamed down her face as she sobbed. "He found me. He found me." Evan felt something inside him shift. A protective fire. The same fire that rose in him whenever Mira, his daughter, cried from nightmares. He stepped into the chamber again without hesitation. "Evan, wait." Rhea warned, "It's dangerous in there." But Evan didn't stop. He grabbed his storybook, sat beside Leary, and said softly, "Look at me, Leary. Only me." She struggled but lifted her eyes. "He is calling me. He wants my mind. He wants to break you. He wants to take me." The station shook again as a deep, distant rumble traveled through the structure. Metal groaned, alarms flashed, officers shouted in nearby hallways. Captain Rhea looked at the monitors. "What is going on out there?" "Something is pressing against the shields, Captain." A guard yelled. "It's like a shadow trying to crawl inside." The medical bay felt colder. Breath turned to mist. Even Evan felt a dark pressure pushing on his thoughts for a moment. A heavy, cold whisper inside his mind saying, "Give her to me." But the whisper stopped the moment he opened his mouth and spoke. As he began reading, his voice cut through the darkness like warm light. The pressure vanished, the cold air lifted, and Leary gasped as if finally able to breathe. Her glow softened. Her shaking slowed. Her tiny hand pressed against the glass toward Evan. "You stop him. Your voice stops him," she whispered. Evan kept reading, even though his heart beat fast and his hands shook. He read louder, stronger, with all the warmth he had left inside him. Captain Rhea watched in disbelief. His voice. "It repels the energy," she whispered. "He's blocking the creature's attack." For the first time, Leary breathed without fear. But outside the station, the shadow did not retreat. It only waited, watching, listening, growing stronger, and everyone knew one thing. This was no longer just Leary's nightmare. The monster had found them, and soon it would try to break in. The space station floated in the darkness like a tiny, shaking island. Outside its metal walls, a strange shadow drifted silently through space. It had no shape. No eyes. No body, just a dark presence that bent light, twisted signals, and pushed against the station like a living nightmare. Inside the medical bay, everyone felt its pressure. The air grew colder. The lights flickered again and again. A deep hum shook the metal floor, like something enormous was breathing outside. Crew members clung to their stations, fear rising in their chests. Captain Rhea shouted orders. "Hold the shields. Redirect power to the defense grid. Do not let that thing in." But even she knew the truth. The station was not built to fight something made of fear. Something that lived inside minds, inside Leary's chamber. Evan continued reading. His voice soft but firm. His eyes focused on the small alien girl who clung to his sleeve. Her tiny fingers glowing faintly. Her breath shaking. Her tears falling silently. "Don't stop," she whispered. "Please, don't stop reading." Evan didn't, even though his throat burned and his hands trembled. Even though fear crawled down his spine, he kept reading like a father reading to his own scared child. Every word he spoke pushed back the cold. Every sentence weakened the creature's grip. Every warm sound from his voice cut through the dark energy trying to reach Leary's mind. The story he read now wasn't just a children's tale. It became a shield, a light, a wall between Leary and the monster that hunted her. But the shadow outside grew angrier. It struck the station again. A loud boom echoed through the halls, sending crates falling and screens flashing red. The crew shouted as the shields dropped for a split second, only a moment, but enough for the shadow to slip deeper into their sensor grid. Captain Rhea slammed a fist on the control panel. "We're losing power. If this continues, the creature will get inside." A terrified guard shouted, "Captain, the monster, it's focusing on the medical bay." Rhea's heart jumped. Protect that room at all costs. But inside, Evan didn't stop. He didn't hear the shouts. He didn't see the alarm lights. He only saw Leary, a small child who trusted him. A child holding onto him like he was the only safe place left in the galaxy. Then, as Evan turned the page of his book, everything went silent. The hum, the alarms, the shaking, all stopped. Leary froze, her eyes widened with sudden terror. He is inside," she whispered. A cold whisper slid across the room, not spoken aloud, spoken inside minds, a dark echoing voice. "Give her to me." The lights dimmed to almost nothing. Shadows stretched across the walls like long, thin claws. Even Evan felt something push against his thoughts, like something was trying to break into his mind, to steal his voice, to silence him. But Evan inhaled deeply and spoke louder, clearer, stronger. "No," he said. A single word that carried more courage than any weapon on the station. The shadow hissed in anger. The lights flickered violently. Leary cried out, "He wants my mind. He wants to take me." Evan grabbed the storybook with both hands. He held it like a shield. He looked straight into the darkness forming on the wall and shouted, "You will not take her." His voice rang through the medical bay like a bell, warm, brave, human. Leary clutched his arm and whispered, "Your voice. It hurts him." Evan began reading again, not softly, not gently, but with strength, calm power, and deep love. His voice filled the room with light that wasn't real light, but something stronger. Hope, warmth, human courage. The shadow recoiled. It twisted angrily. The air shook as if a storm tried to break loose. But every time it pushed forward, Evan's voice pushed back. The crew watched through the glass in awe. Captain Rhea whispered, "He's winning." Finally, with one last burst of angry cold wind, the shadow shattered into thin dust like black sparks, then disappeared into the empty dark of space. The pressure lifted. The lights returned. The metal stopped shaking. The nightmare ended. Leary collapsed into Evan's arms, exhausted, but smiling for the first time. "You saved me," she whispered. He held her gently. "No, Leary," he said softly. "You saved yourself. My voice only helped you see your strength." Captain Rhea stepped inside the chamber, her eyes softening with respect. "Evan, you didn't just help her," she said quietly. "You saved this entire station." The crew gathered around. For the first time, they didn't look at Evan like a janitor. They looked at him like a hero. Leary hugged him tightly. "You are my new family," she whispered. "And I am not afraid anymore." Evan smiled, tears in his eyes. "I'll read to you whenever you need," he promised. And as the station drifted peacefully through space again, a simple human janitor and a lonely alien girl sat together with a small book. The book that saved them both. The book that brought courage to the darkest night. The nightmare was gone, but their story was only beginning.